Hey y'all, welcome to the Team LoCoFit Roundtable, hosted by me, Laurin, owner of Team LoCoFit. Each week, I am joined by one of our coaches to dive headfirst into the nutrition, training, mindset, and coaching strategies we use with our clients. If you loved the show, please subscribe, leave us a review, tell a friend, you know the drill. And for more information about coaching, the programs we offer, and additional content, visit teamlocofit.com.
Hey y'all, so today we are talking about quarantine life. I am with Coach Laurin, aka Blonde. You guys already know it's Blonde because it would be weird if, I don't know, I feel like if I say like I'm with Coach Laurin, people think that I'm talking in the third person, which is super awkward and creepy. So it's just because we're all going a little crazy with the quarantine, I wore my ironic happy camper shirt. Not really sure if I'm happy about this or not, but we're going to pretend that we are. Honestly, you're probably way more quarantined than I am just because of where you live.
I am so quarantined. It's like next level isolation.
Yeah. Laurin's in Chicago, so Chicago's been hit pretty hard. Obviously, New York is the worst, but New York, California, and Chicago are pretty much at this point the worst. And that's obvious because they're the biggest hubs. So it makes sense. There's a lot of people, a lot of travel. But in any case, we're making the best of it. This is a situation that literally everybody is going through. So it's not something that we can control. And clearly people who are much smarter than us and know much more about infectious diseases and the economy are making these decisions, which is why I'm not making the decisions. But we can talk to you guys about how to handle this time, right? At this point, honestly, we don't know when things are going to go back to normal. Nobody knows. So I saw like this meme. It was like some lady was like I think we should all like know when like when this is going to end. So like, this is unfair how we're not being told. And it's like, oh really? Like yeah, no kidding, dude. But like, it's not like we can tell when I totally butchered the fucking meme. God damn.
I was so worried when you started to do that. I was like, oh no.
You're like, this is not going to end well.
I was like, she's committing too much.
My memory sucks. So it was a funny meme. If anybody's seen it or that rings a bell, you're laughing. Listen, if people are watching Tiger King on Netflix, things are crazy. Have you seen that?
I literally, before we hopped on this, just texted Louie and said, have you heard of the show Tiger King? Because I had it pulled up. I had like a description of it pulled up because somebody told me yesterday to watch it. And I literally was like, what the fuck?
Okay, that's what I thought too, obviously, because it came up and we were like, what in the redneck shit is this? And then I've just seen so many memes about it that I'm like, I feel like I should watch this because it just looks so ridiculous. But we are watching Mindhunter, which is...
Oh, I watched that.
Dude, so good. Everybody, I've been told by so many people to watch it. And I'm just like not a TV series, but like I do not like shows. I like movies. But obviously life is a little different right now. So I do have the ability to have a little bit more downtime, in that kind of instance. So we've been watching it and I'm hooked. Oh my God, I'm like obsessed. So in any case, we're actually going to talk about important things today. And first on the quarantine list, as far as like, how to handle these changes, is really boredom eating. And I actually made an IGTV about this just because it's so pertinent. And I don't know about you, Laurin, but pretty much all of my check-ins for the past 2 weeks have been like, yeah, the biggest thing I'm struggling with is like wanting to just boredom eat, stress eat. Some clients will call this mouth hungry, which I think is so funny. Like you're not even really hungry, but you just like want to eat. And I think this happens, there's a lot of compounding reasons right now, but there's clearly like uncertainty in the world, uncertainty with life. But there's also just like people are at home a lot more and some people are not used to that. Like obviously we can work from home, but a lot of people can't, nor have they ever worked from home. So you're now open up to so much more opportunity with just being around the pantry and your fridge all the time. So have you seen the same thing with check-ins? Or even yourself?
So I have seen it. Yeah, I'll speak on both. So in my check-ins, I've seen either that or the complete opposite. So I think it totally depends on the person. So some people will check in and say they're really struggling being so close to the kitchen all the time, being at home all the time. And then I've had other people that are like, being at home has made it so easy for me to adhere because I don't have to worry about. So, and I get both.
Yeah.
So it sounds like you've seen the same. So for me, the first week of quarantine, I struggled, and I actually had a client check-in who was saying that she was struggling, and I think I sent a Loom video back, and I was like, I had the same experience last week. Like, this is kind of what I did. And she was so grateful that I said that I was struggling.
Yes.
And because I think people are putting it out there like, just because you're quarantined doesn't mean this and that. And it's like, okay, this is week 1. Do you know how long it takes to adjust to new shit, especially something like this? So like, give yourself a break and have some compassion for yourself if it doesn't go dandy the first week.
Yes. And that was, the first week was a huge learning curve for everybody,
yeah.
right? And even just us, you know, like everything's changing, right? Like, so there's so many different layers to all of this, and everybody's dealing with things on a different level. So yeah, the first week or two, and, you know, now people are starting to get in a better groove, because, you know, this is kind of the new normal, but it really does take a while to kind of get used to things. So if you are in a situation like this, you're not alone. Like, just being around food a lot more, you know, you just have that desire to eat, particularly when people are stressed out. So I did make, like I said, a whole IGTV about that. So go, you know, if you want to listen to that, you can.
And then this was actually interesting because Laurin and I had discussed this kind of approach before this happened. So it was something I was already implementing, but now I found that it's a good tip to give to some of my clients that are struggling with it as well. Is if you are kind of feeling like you're snacking in between meals or you're eating because you're bored, something that I have done, which helped me tremendously, and it sounds so basic and almost like duh, is make my freaking meals bigger. Because if just by eating more at breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and I think that this comes from a history of just like chronic dieting and never really eating to true fullness. Mm-hmm. So I always had room left, and I've still been doing that even though I don't track anymore and there's no dieting happening. Like, I still have noticed that, like, I'm eating while I'm cooking my meal. I'm eating immediately after finishing my meal. And it's like, that should not be happening. So Laurin was like, make your meals a little bigger. And I was like, you so smart. So
I mean,
I just made my meals are bigger. So the fact that I'm full makes it so much less likely for me to just mindlessly eat or snack because I am truly not even remotely hungry.
And I think that's what happens because, okay, so the boredom eating too, like, let's back up. So pretty much, and I covered this in the video, but like, if anybody is eating out of any emotion besides hunger, right? Stress, emotional kind of things, anxiety, boredom, whatever it might be, you know, you're not really hungry, right? So like, why are you doing this? And a lot of times it is because people have put themselves, whether they are actually hungry and bored, or whether they're just mentally like, oh, well, I restricted earlier today, so like, I'm just going to mindlessly snack now. Because most people like aren't really going to be doing this. It's not going to be like, oh, it's 10 a.m. Let me just boredom eat, right? Maybe because things are a little weird right now. But in general, most people are going to be doing that later, right? So subconsciously, somebody might restrict earlier in the day. It's like, oh, I'm on point. Now, I've done this a million times too, which is why I gave you that advice. Oh, I'll just eat less now. I'll be better today. And then nighttime hits and, you know, you're watching Tiger King or Mindhunter and you're a little hungry and you're really overwhelmed and you're like, whatever, I'm just going to snack a little bit. And then that little bit of snacking turns into a lot of snacking. And then it happens the next day and the next day and the next day. And that's kind of when you look up and go, oh shit. So just by making actual meals bigger, I find that a lot of times when people constantly graze and snack, like, that does work for some clients, but I find for a lot of people that just kind of opens up the floodgates to essentially overeating.
Yeah, 1,000%.
Yeah. So that's going to be number one. Boredom eating is something that's going to be, you're going to be faced with, or really just kind of any emotional eating. And another kind of plug for other content. If you've not listened to the 2-part binging series that me and Karina did, I would highly encourage you guys to do that because it's something that we see a lot of clients, of course, deal with. And right now, particularly, just it's a lot more of an emotional time. So if you are going through this, that's kind of a more tactical guide on kind of binging and overeating. And just another thing that's going to be happening now with kind of quarantine life, for many people, not all, but for many people, they're going to be faced with a lot less movement, right? So say you're working from home now, right? And maybe you already had kind of like a sedentary job, but at least like in the morning, like you got ready for work, you know, you drove and then you walked into the office and then you're walking around and, you know, whatever. And then you were going to the gym like normal. And now all that's kind of different. Like you can wake up, stay in your PJs, go work. You don't really have to move unless you want to. The gyms are closed, so you might be getting at-home workouts done, which could be kicking your ass, or you could just be like, oh, I don't know what to do. I don't want to do anything. So there's a lot of different things that are playing into this right now. So just be mindful of your movement and your just overall neat during this time period is going to be really, really important. And even more important for people who are like, you know, we do have a lot of clients who are still dieting and prepping. You know, they still have goals, even though things are kind of postponed right now. But just in general, you're going to feel better if you start moving a little more. And I know that there's been plenty of times where like, even I get in the situation where, you know, I'm busy all day at my computer, whether this is quarantine life or not quarantine life. Like I'm just busy on my computer all day. Wow, why did I say like, on my computer? And
you do like have this habit of randomly developing an accent.
Yes, it happens all the time. It's
like usually country, and I think one time it was British, and it just comes out of nowhere, and it is such a joy.
Dude, it is so weird, and I don't know. It's not like I'm thinking of doing it, nor do I do it with every word. It's yeah. Anyways, on the computer, and sometimes I'll just be like, oh, look, I'm just really tired from all day, and then I'm like, last thing I want to go do is movement. But honestly, if I say, hey, I'm just going to go walk around the community, which is like 10 minutes, I feel so much better after that. You know what I mean? So just be mindful. Now, again, social distancing, quarantine life is a little bit different because some people are in a position where they really shouldn't be leaving their house that much, right? I mean, obviously, like you can go outside. But I've been seeing people, which is so frustrating. They're going to parks and they're doing stuff. And they're like, see, everybody's still being active. It's like, no, you're part of the problem. You're why we have to be quarantined. You know what I mean? Because you're going to the beach, you're going to the park, you're doing all this stuff. You know, obviously I'm not saying, you know, we're on a lockdown where you can't go outside. I mean, some cities actually kind of are in a situation like that. Like New York is like, hey, just like don't do really anything. But there's still people doing stuff, right? So it's like, it's kind of a slippery slope. So depending on where you're at, depending on your situation, you know, but if you have like a cardio equipment at your house, that can be really useful. I know some clients, a ton of people have bought stuff because of this.
Yeah.
The gym equipment market is for sure doing well right now.
Blowing up. Everybody, all my clients that have cardio equipment at their house, like I just never thought I'd be so jealous. Like some of the check-ins are like, I have access to a full barbell squat rack with all these. I'm like, I have one kettlebell.
Yeah, obviously we're very, very lucky because Rye has outfitted our garage to be pretty much better than most gyms.
Your garage is awesome. Walking around I wanted to comment also, when Laurin goes for a walk around her complex, she also drips sweat because it is 1,000 degrees. So you burn a lot of calories getting a 10-minute walk in Florida. My biggest suggestion for people that are less movement right now, especially cardio wise, because I think a lot of people are doing at home training, but if you're somebody that was on a specific allotted amount of cardio per week and you're trying to get that in, or whatever the case may be, or even just trying to move a little more, my thing that I'm doing is just counting my steps, like making sure I get 10,000 steps a day. That's it. And it doesn't matter what that looks like. So the other day we went for a run, so I got them very easily. But some other days, like today, it's raining most of the day, so I'm literally staring out the window waiting for it to stop so that I can go for a walk. But as long as I'm at 10,000 a day, I'm good. Like that's what I was doing before all of this. And it's not that hard. Like if you go for a walk, go to freaking Target if you want, and just I get like, it depends where you are, but like
I probably wouldn't do that.
Anytime you're out, I still have gone. But that's an opportunity to get some steps, and like there's really no one out by me, so it's been fine. Like there's a trail kind of behind my apartment complex and stuff like that, so I just make it a point to get out and get 10,000, and just doing stuff around your house too.
Yeah, I was gonna say in your house. So say you are like, I've been trying to stay at home as much as possible. Like I went to the grocery store the other day, and that's literally it. Like I've not been doing anything, trying to, again, limit all this. You know, partially too, because Ryan is a firefighter, so he is exposed to a lot. And, you know, anyways, so I'm just trying to like not do that, but just being in a house. And I understand that everybody has a different like house situation as far as size. But if you're sitting at your computer and working, making sure that you're getting water, walking to the fridge and getting water all the time, making sure that you're doing stuff like that adds up, you know what I mean? And so say you are like, hey, I have to go get water, right? Do a few laps around your kitchen. Like, you know what I mean? Like literally, like just try and be a little bit more active. It's totally possible when you are home. You just have to be a little bit more creative than normal. So that's another thing. And, you know, that kind of nicely goes into transitioning to like at-home training and not having equipment. So some people are going to have kick-ass setups. Like I said, I'm very lucky. And, so some clients of ours have setups like that as well. One of our clients, their family, how cute is this? They put a squat rack in the living room right now for her. Literally. It's like they're really committed.
Oh my God.
Like, oh my God. So like there's gonna be situations where people have awesome setups or they started buying stuff, like I said, like online or like used stuff or whatever. But say people have literally like a kettlebell and a band, you can still do stuff. Okay. It doesn't mean it's going to be the same as a regular workout, and nobody on planet Earth is suggesting that. But it is totally possible to still be active and kick your ass. Hey, you wanna know how hard burpees are? They're pretty hard. Are burpees the same as, progressively overloading your back squat? No. Not on any planet is that the same thing. But it's still a workout. And in a situation like this, we obviously always preach intelligent training and intelligent programming, right? But there is a time and a place, like a pandemic, when you can't necessarily do things like that, and you just have to get it in and get some kind of workouts done. Obviously, we've been posting training stuff. We modified this month's Body Blueprint training to this, modifying all of our clients' training programs. We're on custom training to at-home stuff. So it is totally possible to do things and find heavy stuff that's around your house. You know what I mean? Like whether it's like gallons of water or if it's like laundry soap, like, you know what I mean? Like just certain things like that are going to be a little bit heavier as far as like objects go. You can use, again, is it the same thing? No, but nobody is in a perfect situation right now unless you have a full gym, really.
Yeah. And then, so
what have you been doing with your kettlebell?
Yeah. So I literally feel like I have everything that I need. I have my body weight. I have a kettlebell. I have a band. I do have a weighted vest. Our CrossFit gym actually lent out equipment to members. So I can't have, like, they actually were giving out barbells and weights and stuff like that, but I live on the 3rd floor of my apartment, so I can't like be dropping a barbell. I personally don't care, but I think the people below me would. So, I have a jump rope. So I have everything I need. I am not concerned whatsoever. But something that I do know is that when I was taking CrossFit classes, first of all, just the intensity was a little higher because I was in a class. Getting the community kind of aspect of it as well just pushes you a little more. And I don't have access to barbells, a full set of dumbbells, things like that. But that's really all that I'm missing. So to kind of make up for that, I have just been, instead of training 5 days a week, I've been doing like 6, and then maybe like the 7th day is like more of like a yoga or just mobility or some rehab stuff. So I have just increased my frequency essentially. So there's a ton of different factors that we can manipulate in training: frequency, load, volume, all those things. I have chosen to increase my frequency and just try to keep the intensity up to what I feel I need for that day. And not getting freaking wound up about it. Like, this is what it is. Don't stress out. Anything you do is going to be fine. And Ryan made a post like last week, I think, that even if you did nothing for 2 weeks, which we are not encouraging whatsoever, but if you were like, you know what, I need a break, and you're still eating mindfully and maybe like you're doing some stretching or you're taking this time to rehab an injury, that's fine. Not all is lost. Like, just chill the fuck out and do what you can. And yeah, we've been posting things. Body Blueprint is a great resource. I've actually directed a lot of my clients to that. And then outside of that, there is a endless amount of workouts online right now. Endless. So you can find something and you can do it.
Yeah. And again, it's not going to be as ideal. But in a situation like this, it is not controllable whatsoever. And that leads to the next point, which is right now just dealing with anxiety and lack of control. And obviously me and you and a lot of people listening are pretty type A. People in that kind of a situation are always trying to have control of everything. They want everything to go a certain way. They like planning, and trust me, I get it. I had 6 trips in 8 weeks planned that I had to cancel because of all of this, you know what I mean? And
it's fine.
Totally fine. So, like I'm somebody who, like, these things have been planned for months, right? Like speaking engagements, client meetups, client shows, like events, like all these types of things, right? Super exciting things I had planned. I was like, this is a big part of our business, right? All that's gone. What am I going to do? Be upset over it? Sure, for 5 minutes. And then I go, okay, that's not a good plan. Like, that is all gone. It's going to come back at some point, maybe in a different way, maybe at a different time point. But me worrying over that is not going to help. And I think that just it's normal. I think this is probably something that was happening a lot more the first week and two. And I think people are kind of slowly getting a little better right now. But just in general, kind of just generalized anxiety of like what's going on in the world, what's going on with me, what's going on with life and my family. And then obviously if you have people that you know who are sick, that's going to be a whole different thing. Changes to, your job, like changes if you have kids, changes to their schedule. Like there's a lot of things that are really unknown right now, which is why I made a post the other day, like, hey, we really can't control a lot of things, but we can control 3 things, which is your diet, anything that you put in your mouth, you can control. Any type of training that you're doing, which is going to be modified, but you can control that. And then your mindset. So I know that again is like very hard to understand when you're kind of in that situation, but the best people who survive things like this are going to have all those things in control. And that's why I do actually encourage people to, it's not about like, hey, take 2 weeks off, it doesn't matter. I could care less if people do that, right? But the fact that, hey, there's so much lack of control right now, if we dial in your diet and we dial in your at-home workouts, you'll actually feel good about it because now you actually feel like you have control over something, right? So it doesn't matter that the workout has changed. It doesn't matter that your diet might have changed. It doesn't matter any of that. The fact that you can wake up and say, hey, I don't know what's going to happen today, but I can do these few things and I'm going to feel really good about it.
Yeah. And just really quickly, I think that we have all kind of beaten this to death, but I just want to reiterate, because I think it's so important, is trying to stay as much on your normal freaking schedule as possible, even though this is, so I want to use myself as an example. Last week, my schedule was whack because we were trying to figure out how to move all my internship to online. So I was starting a little later some days. Some days I didn't really have much to do. So I was like, you know what? This is great. I'll just sleep in a little later than usual. Maybe I'll try to do some like afternoon workouts, which I don't do. But in my head, I was like, this is a great opportunity to just get some more sleep and I'll do that later. No, that drove me insane. I had so much anxiety because I was so out of routine. So guess what? This week, I woke up at 5 every morning. I did all of my stretching. I got my workout done before all of my work, just like I would have done before. Mm-hmm. And I felt so much better.
Much better. Yeah. Same thing. I mean, my schedule has changed a little bit. Also, another fun thing, I started leasing an office. Literally the week before coronavirus hit. So that was cool. But so I was getting used to a new schedule because I was going down to that office. It's like a co-working space a few days a week. One big thing that's been a huge change is like I can't go to jiu-jitsu right now. And that is something that I go to multiple times a week. That is multiple hours a week. And that actually had shifted my schedule a lot because it was at night. So I would be staying up a lot later than usual. And then I kind of been my new norm for a few months. So I kind of got into that routine of, I'm going to start later. And then now that's changed. So like, I'm not just going to stay up till midnight for no reason. So I'm kind of getting back to like, wake up, do a little work out, then do all my work, so it's a little bit different, but it's still a routine, right? I still say, hey, this is what I'm planning on doing. I'm going to get this done. I'm training at this time, that did it, like working at these times. I'm doing all these things. So even though life is, again, a little bit different from what we're used to, still have to have a routine, still have to have a schedule. And that will help so much with these feelings of anxiety because the anxiety is not going to go away until all of this is over and life is normal again. And that might be a really long time. But what we can do is control a few of those things, like our diet, like our training, like our routine, like our mindset.
I think that kind of goes into the last thing that we want to talk about is adjusting to living situations. So if you're somebody that now is home with family or now you and your significant other are together all of the time, this is a big adjustment and it's not something that anybody really thinks about ever happening. But here we are. So my number one suggestion would be do not try to get on somebody else's schedule. Just like we just said, stay on your own schedule. It can be tempting. Like Louis still works, but he's off on Wednesdays. So it can be tempting for me to try to fall into that schedule and he stays up later. So then maybe I want to stay up later to hang out. But at the end of the day, I need to stay in what's going to keep me the most sane. And he understands that and it's fine. It's the same thing as it was before all this. You don't need to change everything just because of this circumstance. Exactly. Stay on your own schedule. That's it.
It's super important. And I know a lot of clients have adjusted to that. So whether they, like, again, the whole, like if somebody's in school, right, and they had to maybe go back to, being with their families right now, or if they are now working from home and their significant other is working from home, or, kids are, I don't know how long they're off of school for. So kids are off of school. People are trying to, obviously homeschool and do all that. So there's a lot of changes happening. People aren't used to that. So it's an interesting thing because now you're in a new living situation, right? But you're also not really socializing. So it's super strange because normally I could be like, hey, obviously me and Ryan live together, but it's like we do stuff together. We have our own time. I do my own things. He does his own things. But now it's like, hey, you know what I mean? Like, we're all here and I can't go anywhere else and neither can you. And, again, I'm doing this for a reason. Like, I could be one of these assholes who's like still going and doing shit. I don't feel right doing that right now. And I feel like, hey, if people are saying we should be doing this, I'm going to keep doing this. And trust me, I'm like the most extroverted person ever. So I'm ready to start talking to inanimate objects in my house. I literally went to the store and this is the most me thing ever.
Oh God.
It's like, I've been trying to like literally not go anywhere. You know what I mean? And so I go to the store and I'm checking out. I'm like, hey, how you guys doing? I've talked to literally everybody in the store. And I'm like, I haven't left my house in a few days. This and that. And the guy like looks at me and he's like, what? And I was like, these are the guidelines. Like, I'm actually trying to follow them, but I'm going crazy and you get to talk to people all day, bagging groceries.
Like, you don't even know what it's like, sir. And here's something that I've developed is like this very interesting, like uncontrollable slap happy situation where like when I actually, I don't talk to anybody all day. So if somebody, like when he comes home, I just start laughing and I'm like, I don't know how to socialize. I can't form sentences. I don't know. I don't know any, I'm like, I'm sorry. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a weird time.
Like I can't, sometimes I will just start laughing when I think about it. I'm like, I have been inside all day.
Yeah.
I haven't left.
Pretty much. At least I like my house. That's a positive, right? There's, lots that I can do here.
But like, I was doing laundry this morning before this call, and I was like leaving my wet clothes in one room and making single trips back and forth to hang them because I was like, how else am I going to get my steps in?
Hey, that's a real thing.
I'm telling you.
Talking about getting steps in. Do that.
Yes.
Single pieces of laundry movement.
Single pieces, guys. And like, if I have to take the trash out, I don't do it when I'm on my way out the door. Like, I will make sure I do it another time when I'm not planning on leaving. Like it's very strategic. It's such a mental fuck, really. Like, it's interesting. I feel like I'm going actually insane. Like, this is, especially for like, I think for Laurin and I, like we already talked about, very type A. And then Laurin wants to talk to anything that will listen. Like, it doesn't matter. This is actual hell is what I have come down to. And like I told Laurin yesterday I was going to swan dive off of my balcony, people, because I was on a Skype call for 7 hours. Yeah.
Still the best meme I've seen. It was like introverts, put down your book. Your extroverted friends are not doing okay.
Check up on your extroverted friends.
See how they're handling it. No, but in all seriousness, obviously we're doing fine. The whole point of all of this is to be healthy, is to, put ourselves and other people at the least amount of risk possible. I'm still trying to, we can still do everything pretty much that we would normally be doing, obviously with definite changes, but it's not like, oh my God, life is completely ruined and life is over. There's so many positives out of this. And, just kind of one small thing. I know that obviously a lot of people are in really tough situations as far as financial changes. But, the economy is going to rely on everybody to kind of band together and to do stuff. So the few times that I have gone out to get groceries, I've ordered takeout, given them big tips. I've been trying to do online shopping with like small businesses that I support. So, it's small stuff like that keeps things going. And I know that it's like a tough time right now, but we're going to all get through this. I know that it's weird quarantine times, but it won't be forever. So if you guys have any other questions for us, you can always message us or email us, info@teamlocofit.com. We're always here to help. We are never too busy. So if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to reach out, and we will catch you guys next week.